What's up, guys? Welcome to the video of Get Better, Earn Faster. So, Dan and Zac here. Super excited to dive into this. You guys, we spent a ton of time putting this slide deck together for you. All about just certain skills and things that you guys can focus on learning that will make you more money. Okay, we know that, obviously in these economic times and really just anywhere, even if the world is amazing, you want to make more money. And so here is things that have allowed Dan and I to earn more money. Okay, so the
Yeah.
first one, I'll let Dan dive into this one, the visionary and integrator.
Yeah. So first and foremost, this is something that I, really unlocked it for me is reading the book Rocket Fuel, which I think Zac actually suggested, but highly recommend check it out. The whole book is based on the premise of figuring out what type of person that you are in terms of business and what you bring most to the table, right? So either a visionary or an integrator. So a visionary is the idea generator, an entrepreneur, creator, founder, externally referred to like owner, CEO, chairman. They see the future. They have an idea of where they want things to go, and they're able to share that with the people around them, right? So maybe they're not the best implementers. Maybe they just come up with these ideas and the visions, and they're just, hey, this is how I want it to look. Then they have a team around them of integrators, people that are organizational, right? People that are putting the pieces together to ultimately achieve that end goal that a visionary wants. So definitely check this out. Check out the book. Figure out which one you are. I think Zac and I both, which is very odd and rare. We took the quiz and we both tested very, very high on both items, both descriptions, because we both are able to kind of do our deep thinking, figure out how we want to move forward, but also knowing the pieces that we need to put together, like putting together the systems and processes that you need to ultimately achieve those. A lot of partnerships, a lot of partnerships that don't aren't very successful are the ones that are where people are the same, right? You want to find people that have either both of these qualities together or is one or the other, right? A visionary is typically going to be the person that's out there branding, being very vocal, being very loud with what it is that you're doing and casting, again, that vision. And an integrator is the one that helps them manage and organize all of that stuff that's being captured in those terms. So why is it important to know? You're going to naturally be and find it's easier to work when you know what your strengths are, right? If you are more of an integrator and you're trying to be a visionary or you're put into that role, it might be a little harder for you because it's not very natural. So take the path of least resistance and figure out which way that you're supposed to go. And also in this community, feel free to utilize this and figure out and share which one you are. And maybe you can find someone to collaborate with who's the opposite and get to know each other and figure out how you guys can work together and what you want to do. So highly encourage that. Obviously we're all about that, but super, super important. This should really be step one when it comes to adding skills, finding skills, and also just navigating, figuring out what it is that you want to do.
Absolutely, yeah. Because just to end the slide, every major entrepreneur that you guys know today, if they're a visionary, they have an integrator. If they're an integrator, they found a visionary, right? And so you want to find out what you are so you can go and partner with the opposite. Any of my partnerships that have failed is because they were the same as me, like Dan was saying. Okay, number two, sales. We sell all day, every day anyway. We just don't always get paid for it. Get paid what you're worth, no ceiling, always opportunity to find a place to work. High demand for high quality salesperson. If you can sell, then you will never be broke. Hands down, guys. Sales is one of the most important skills that you can possibly learn. And like this slide says, you sell every day anyways. You're either selling or you're being sold, right? It doesn't matter if you guys want to go out to eat. You want a steak, your wife wants Mexican food. Wherever you guys end up going, that person won the sale. Okay, the other person was sold. So those who are good at sales are able to overcome the following recessions. If you can sell, then you can sell your way out of recession, right? What do I mean by that? When economic times are bad, those who know how to make money and can sell will find the product or the opportunity to thrive during that situation. Financial windfall. If something drastic happens in your life, unexpected medical bills, house burns down, financial theft, etc. If you can sell your way out. I put this on here because this happened to me. I ended up in a major financial windfall. And the only reason I even got out of that situation at all, instead of just completely, burying myself financially, was because I knew how to sell. I locked myself in my room for 10, 12, 14 hours a day, and I just sold. I made as many cold calls as I possibly could to get it done. Okay. So, and then the last one, stuck in an industry, right? You guys could be in an industry that you hate. And how do you get out of it? If you know how to sell, you can go and find the next opportunity and join it and sell that product, right? Psychology of sales. When you know the psychology of sales and how to influence another person to make a purchase of any kind, whether it's a physical product, a digital product, a service, doesn't matter. You guys can and will be successful. And so that's why I highly recommend sales. Both Dan and I constantly are perfecting ourselves. We know that sales is constantly changing. In fact, the next slide is really taking over a large portion of sales. But it's something that you constantly want to be refining and getting better. All right.
Absolutely. So in order to sell people, you got to have people hear about what you're doing. Now in today's day and age, marketing is going to be the lifeblood of any business. If you know how to get leads, you always have people to talk to. If you know how to get loud, how to, share what it is that you're offering, the problem that you're solving, you will always have a potential customer that now you just need to go and sell. And, like we say here, in today's world, marketing is becoming 70 to 80% of the sale. And the reason for that is you need to be more creative. You need to stand out a little bit differently, and you need to be very educational in your marketing so that people want to actually give you the time to listen, because the consumer is changing. There's so much more content out there about sales, right? That people just stumble across it and then they learn, like the consumer is learning the psychology of sales, right? So now they aren't going to want to feel like they're being worked or being closed, right? So they want to ultimately feel like they're purchasing because they want to. And that's why in marketing, if you can get your marketing to get to that point where it's 70 to 80% of the sale, where you're just at, finalizing some customizations or certain things that they need that are maybe a little bit more complex, then at that point, everything becomes so much easier. Marketing a great offer can convert a customer without you ever even having to talk to them. So what we mean by offer is value relationship to cost, right? You need to basically provide a ton of value and showing that it has a really good relationship to the cost. So they feel like they're getting a good deal. They don't even feel the need to, justify it or talk to you or be sold on why they need to do something. And that's when the marketing can close the deal itself without even needing to get on the phone, needing to get on a Zoom call, meeting that person face to face. So it's kind of, we have learned to evolve. You start with sales, right? Because you need to be able to present the offer, and then you start to learn how to get more creative with marketing and how to do the outreach in a certain manner and develop that skill. Because again, it's hard to make a marketing clip or a marketing offer to get to 70 to 80% of the sale if you don't understand sales, if you don't understand how to present something, how to pitch something, how to give people that educative feeling in the offer. So that's the first step: sales, marketing, and ultimately this would give you, you know, basically the ability to print money, so to speak, if you become a good marketer and always have people to talk to. Again, building your brand, right? How many brands out there? Logan Paul, for example, has such a big following. He is a marketer of himself. And when he launched Prime, what did it do? It literally, just because he had so many eyeballs on him, it exploded and did, what was it, $1 billion in sales in like 2 years? Just absolutely insane. So that's kind of the power of marketing and letting it be known, because no one's able to buy from you if they don't know what you have to offer them, the problem that you solve.
Absolutely. Just like that second to last slide says too, if there was one skill to become great at, this would be the skill to focus on, just like Dan said. Networking. Your net worth equals your network, or your network equals your net worth. Actually, apologize, guys, that's backwards, but they equal the same thing. Okay. So being able to rub shoulders with individuals who are above you is a major key to success. In fact, Dan, do you remember the law of exposure is what I was trying to think of. When you guys get exposed to, certain income levels or certain lifestyles or certain goal achievements, it makes it possible for you. You start to realize, oh my gosh, I just met this individual. They put their pants on just like I do. There's nothing different about them other than they just know something that I don't. So here's how you do it. You pay to be in their environment, right? Guys, in order to be in the high level rooms, you pay to get there, okay? Through masterminds, communities, just like this one, mentorship seminars. Um, you also help people with what they need, so they will help you by introducing you to other people. I don't know if you guys know who Pace Morby is, but he's one of Dan and I's mentors in the real estate space. And he was telling us a story about how he helped Dean Graciosi, if you guys have ever heard of him. He helped him with a situation that he needed. And then he introduced Pace to Tony Robbins because Dean Graciosi and Tony Robbins are partners. And so, because Pace willingly helped Dean without asking him anything, he then, the law of reciprocity, helped out Pace by introducing him to Tony Robbins. And so, by helping others is also a major way to do it. And then you join mastermind groups and communities that other high level individuals are also members of. So maybe not only are you paying to be a part of a mentorship or a community or something that that person is putting on, but then you also go and join the same groups that they're a part of that somebody else is covering, right? Like Dan and I are in Pace's group, and there's a lot of other high level guys in there that we have been able to meet and interact with and stuff, because they're in the same environment that we are in. So ultimately, networking is a master skill to learn. Dan and I have a friend who went from 500K a year to 8 figures just from knowing high level individuals who introduced him to opportunities that most people do not even know exist. Okay, so that's the power of networking, right? By simply
Well,
knowing people, you can be introduced to things that you otherwise wouldn't even know existed. What's up,
absolutely.
brother?
And networking is just another example of kind of marketing yourself in a sense, right? You become someone who, like, if for that example of that gentleman that we know, he, like, they would have never known his capabilities or that he had existed if he was not able to get into those rooms and kind of just put the pieces together of who he was able to meet. So it's definitely a long game. I mean, he's honestly probably one of the better networkers I've ever met too. So just kind of, you know,
Yeah,
lends
that's
skill.
probably his superpower for sure.
So social media and branding, your personal brand is the number one asset on the planet today, right? So a couple examples of this: Kylie Jenner, youngest billionaire for cosmetics because of her personal brand. The Rock, I mean, anything that The Rock touches, he's able to basically blow up.
Yeah, insane. He just came out with a men's like lotion line or something. It's wild.
Yep. And then Conor McGregor, same thing. He is the highest paid athlete. I think, was it this year or last year? But it's also mainly because of all of his brands and the way that he's so vocal. He really hypes up all of his fights are massively sold out. So he's just very vocal. He has a big following, has a big brand. People know who he is. And these people can basically go and tie themselves to anything, and it's going to expand and lead to sales. And, like we say, today in this day and age, attention is such a massive, massive, powerful, asset that you can get because people are just sharing their attention all over the place. And if you're scrolling social media, you are paying people with your time, with your attention, with your focus, where your eyeballs are going, right? So um, focusing on that, and instead of being a consumer, start being a producer, put something together, start to build something out, be educational, entertain people, whatever it is. Start working on it. And it's definitely uncomfortable at first. I'm going through it, in the beginning, and but ultimately it is something that over the course of a long period of time, it definitely pays off significantly. So
Absolutely, guys. And every platform is different. I recommend picking one, trying to become proficient at it. But you will also learn a lot of different skills throughout just from doing it, like videography, copywriting, speaking on camera, editing, etc. So negotiation. Negotiation stands for a strategic discussion that resolves an issue in a way that both parties find acceptable. Okay, so the key to negotiating is making it a win-win scenario, but one that hits most of the check marks you are needing while simultaneously having the opposing side feel the same way. Okay, so if you're trying to buy a car, you want it for a certain price. You're negotiating that price. You also want to make it feel like the person that's selling the vehicle is also getting a win as well. And so how you do that is, by having that skill of negotiation. So negotiation can help you get a higher wage for your job. Negotiation can help you get more favorable terms in business. Negotiating can get you better pricing for items you are trying to buy. These are all probably no-brainers, but the best book on negotiating is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. He is an absolute G when it comes to negotiating. Dan and I both have read that book probably 5 or 6 times. And it's amazing. He's got so many nuggets in there that will also help you in sales. It'll help you in communication, influence, persuasion, the whole 9 yards. So I definitely recommend you guys read that book. It is a game changer of a book for sure.
Absolutely. So one skill that a lot of people don't really think about is leadership. Leadership is the number one highest paying skill that you can learn, because a good leader, you become very highly compensated for that, right? You create a lot of leverage. You get paid for a lot of different things that are going on, whether it's leading a sales team, whether it's leading, like we have here, a sports team and things of that sort. Oh, what just happened?
Oh, did it go away? My bad.
Oh, no, you're good.
Something just messed up on my computer.
If you know how to lead, then you can move mountains. You're basically bringing a organization, a group of people together to go achieve a common goal. Obviously, ultimately, 5 people trying to go after something is better than just you trying to go after it alone, right? If you're getting compensated on 5 people doing X amount of deals and leading them towards accomplishing that goal, accomplishing that mission, you're able to, make more money in those scenarios. Leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. So casting your vision as a visionary, this is probably going to be a little bit more natural for you, a little bit easier for you to convey your message, convey how you see things moving forward. And the other thing about leadership is it can be equally, if you don't know how to lead, it can be as equally derailing for you. So it's very important to know how you react, how you respond, and get comfortable doing this, and what type of leader that you are. I mean, Zac and I are both actually a little bit different when it comes to it. There's not necessarily a perfect way, like the 3 people we have listed here, John C. Maxwell and Jocko Willink, are very, very different. They're very different types of leadership, right? But they both accomplish the same goal. So understanding how you lead and how people, and how you have to be a chameleon in a sense, right? You can't lead, in this example, you can't lead a SEAL team the same way that you would lead a sales team necessarily all the time.
Yeah.
Right? It might not work. In some cases it will, but it might not work 100% of the time. So you need to know the personalities that you're dealing with on your team. You need to focus on the type of people that you're dealing with, instead of just being a rock in a hard place. You need to be able to evolve, be a chameleon, be able to deal with all the different personality types, be someone that they can confide in, but then also someone that holds them ultimately more accountable.
Absolutely. Communication. So this is very much like sales, obviously, but communication is the act of giving, receiving, and sharing information through verbal and nonverbal methods. It has been studied that those with the highest vocabulary tend to make the most money, and those with the lowest vocabulary tend to be homeless or in prison. It also comes with IQ as well. Vocabulary is very tied to your IQ. There is a direct correlation between how well someone communicates and how much money they have, which also comes down to reading, right? People who develop better communication read more books. Like CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, on average, read 52 books a year, which is a book a week. The average human being or average American doesn't read a book at all. 75% of Americans don't read a book after college. Of the people that do read a book, 70% of them read romance novels, which is not really growing your vocabulary. Okay. It's basically like getting away with reading about porn, so to speak. And then, so think about that, guys. The highest paid individuals read a book a week, on an educational book a week. The majority of people don't read a book at all. So if you even read just a book a month, you are doing way better than most of your competition. If you want to make more money, improve your communication skills. The better you are at articulating a difficult message into understandable methods for your audience, the higher you will be paid. So what does that mean? That means taking something complex, making it where a kindergartner can understand it. If you cannot do that, then you do not understand the material well enough in order to do so. Like if you ask me and Dan about solar or about, real estate to a certain capacity, depending on what your strategy is in real estate, because there's so many of them, we can explain it to you in a very kindergarten level. Now, if you tell me to tell you how, the earth moves at the speed it does and all the planets in the universe and rocket ships and all that, I ain't gonna be able to tell you any of that. I don't know any of that stuff, right? So you want to be able to take a message and communicate it so effectively that a kindergartner can understand. And if you get to that level, then you are proficient in that skill. You can teach others about it, which teaching is the highest form of learning, right? And so you can essentially you can be paid a high amount for that skill. Okay.
Absolutely. And on that too, real quick, there's repetition is super important with this, right? Like you need to be constantly changing, evolving. I don't know how many times I text you with different ways of saying things, just like those small tweaks, because it's like you can be a perfectionist when it comes to how you formulate a sentence, and especially when you're presenting to a homeowner, to the point where it needs to roll off the tongue like water, right? So it comes with a lot of repetition. It that will help you develop those communication skills. Also, being able to listen and apply very quickly, right? You could go through a train. I mean, for us, right? For example, the second that we started really focusing on training our sales team, we became better at sales because of the ways that we were giving them different perspectives, different ways to say things. We now had an arsenal of things that, not that we weren't using them before, but it helped us know when we should be applying those different tactics and different things. So being able to take things in and maybe watch on YouTube, watch different sales trainings on your industry, and then go and apply them. You want to be able to apply very quickly, get the repetition in, so the communication becomes even smoother.
Also, too, to piggyback on what you just said, Dan, like when you're in a sales environment, you may at some point be talking to a higher level individual. So you need to talk at a higher level. Then others, you might be talking to somebody that's more of a lower IQ individual and they're a lower level of consciousness. And so you have to talk at a more kindergarten, first grade level to get them to understand what it is that you're talking about. So you want to be able to be on both spectrums of your product, service, or whatever it is that you're doing. And communication is what will help you do that.
So skill stacking, what is this? Here's the order of skills we recommend that you learn. Once you learn one, you can continue to perform that skill while learning the next. This is skill stacking: communication, learning how to communicate properly, sales, social media, marketing, negotiation, leadership, networking, right? You want to basically develop a skill. Part of the reason that we have networking towards the end and leadership towards the end is it's very hard to lead people if you don't have a skill set to lead them on, right? It's very hard to network effectively if you have nothing to necessarily bring to the table. One thing that I hear all the time on podcasts and whatnot that I listen to, higher level people, they don't want to have to think about how you can help them. So you need to be able to have a skill set that you can go and provide them. Like the example that Zac had used where Pace had helped Dean Graziosi and didn't have an expectation of anything in return. He didn't ask him, hey, how can I serve you? How can I help you? That's basically, if I say that to Zac, I'm asking Zac to take the time to think about how Dan can help it, and it's not an effective way to network. You need to be able to just bring value to people and bring something to the table. And in order to do that, you basically need to learn these skills. Communication is number one, because communication carries on like a waterfall to all of these things. It's going to make your sales better. It'll make your social media better, marketing, negotiation, leadership. all of that stuff, it's going to make even better. So if you try to learn that towards the end, you're you're it just kind of throws it all off. So this is the order that we recommend. And again, communication, reading, listening to different videos, but also you need to be learning. And actually, one skill that probably is important to note is always be learning. Like one skill to be able to digest and look at things in a different perspective um, as quickly as possible. And that's one skill that we were kind of blessed with. I feel like in a way, like I learn things very quickly and I absorb them and I know how to go and apply them and what to do. But if you can somehow develop that and be a better learner, a faster learner, this will be even more accelerated for you.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And like, yeah, I'm not even that's you said it best. Okay, goal achievement. Yes, achieving goals is a skill, and here's some tips on how to achieve your goals. Number one, when choosing goals, you want to be specific and detailed as possible. Number two, come up with 10 goals you want to achieve. After you come up with 10 goals, I want you to look at your goals and ask yourself if you could only achieve one of them, which goal would it be? 99% of the time, that one goal will actually allow you to achieve most of your other goals at the same time. This is the goal to focus on. Usually, when I have this, you know, when I do this exercise with somebody, usually one of their goals is like, I want to make an X amount of money, right? And if they hit that goal, then they can achieve like this. I wanted to buy this car, or I wanted to go on this vacation, or I wanted to get married, or whatever it is. And like 8 or 9 of the other goals can typically be achieved with that one goal by achieving that one goal. Number three, write down your goals every morning and night. The reason is because you are telling your subconscious mind, which is your largest portion of your mind, it handles 90% of your functions, what you want to achieve. You're like your subconscious, and we're all energy, right? And so everything around us is energy, and your subconscious mind is tapping into the energies of the universe, and it's essentially paving the way for you if it truly believes that that is what you want to achieve. So if you guys have ever heard of like law of attraction and stuff, that is why you write down your goals. Now, there's people out there who think law of attraction is like, oh, I'm going to sit on my couch and just think of things and it's going to happen. No, it actually takes action at the same time. You cannot achieve things without action, but you can be put on the right path in order to achieve that if you tap into the law of attraction as well. So, number four, write your goal in past tense as if you already achieved it with an end date. You're telling your mind that you've already done these things, right? It's not I'm going to lose weight, it's I weigh X amount by this date, on this date. So, example, I made $100,000 on December 31st, 2024. I already did it. Boom. You know what I mean? So, that is how you want to do your goals. And so, goal achievement is definitely a skill. And we wanted to add this so that you guys can start to formulate these because we're trying to change your framework into a 6-figure earner, into a 7-figure earner. Okay. And so, by doing that, you have to change the way you think.
Absolutely. And kind of on that point, it makes your decisions a lot easier every day, right? These last two slides kind of go very well hand in hand. But the 1% rule, it's getting better by 1% can build tremendous improvements. In order to do that, we're not biting off more than we can chew. I have so many friends who come up with these massive goals and just unrealistic things that are unsustainable for a long period of time. When you're getting into something, you need to be able to know that you can show up and do that every single day. 1% every single day is so doable, right? If you're getting better, if you're getting 1% better each day for the year, 365 days a year, you're ending up 37 times better than what you were when you started the first day of the year. It's not going to seem like a lot day to day, but when you truly look back and you document and you show, oh, wow. Like, for example, when we had first started our first podcast episode, we were just like, oh my God, we were so bad. And we weren't even doing that every day, right? It was, we were doing it periodically, but it's significantly, we go back and listen and it's like, wow, that is really a good measuring stick for where we were. But kind of leading into the next slide, consistency is super, super important. You need to be consistent with what it is that you're doing. So many people, they just aren't consistent. and they aren't, they'll do something for a short period of time, for a week, for a month, even for a year. Some people will have a great year and be consistent, but they take time off, they fall off, right? One thing that we try to follow as much as possible is, the week. We break it down into a week. A week is 7 days long, right? If you show up 5 days a week and you could make all the progress in the world and then you just take 2 days off, guess what? You're going 2 days off. But not only that, you're also spending Monday, maybe half of Tuesday trying to get back on, right? Trying to get back on track. Whereas if you just kept doing something to get 1% better through the weekend, one way or another, find a way, go to the gym, read a book. Obviously there's active recovery, there's active relaxation, actively recharging in order to get better, right? That's one thing that we have shifted, because at the end of the day, there's so many people out there that are operating 5 out of 7 days, which, guys, that's 71%, right? They're trying to get A+ results in a lifestyle that they are only operating at a C+ or C-, I guess, right? So simple things like that, right? Everyone who's living for the weekend, utilize the weekend to add another skill, to focus on some other way to make more money, to, network, do something productive, right? But don't take 5 steps forward and 2 steps back all the time. It's really not a net positive. So,
Yeah, I mean, a great guy to kind of look up to in that arena is Wes Watson. 5 years ago, he was in prison for 10 years. He left prison with $200 to his name. He now, 5 years later, makes over $30 million a year, guys. 90% net profits. Okay. And how does he do it? His entire motto is that I just take a step forward, but I never step backwards. And how does he do that? By he never misses. Every single day for the last 5 years. I mean, he talks about it. He was doing it in prison as well, but just talking about the last 5 years, he has never missed a day on his habits, right? Every single day, he does the things that he needs to do to progress forward by one step. And he says, the reason why I am so much further than all of you guys who have never been to prison, who have all the opportunities in the world, is because what Dan just said. You go 5 days, then you take 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 massive steps backwards, whereas he just takes the next step forward. And so by the time a year, 2 years, 5 years, he's way down there, and we're all back here because we're not staying as consistent as him. So,
and one thing we see a lot in sales, like if sales is what you're in or trying to get into, we see people who are just, I'm going to make 500 calls one day, right? And then they're going to take 3 days off, and then they're going to make 400. And it's like, you're better off just doing something that's sustainable every single day, whether you feel like it or not. That's the secret, right? Doing something, showing up regardless of how you feel, also known as like discipline and just being able to, hey, I really don't want to do this, but it's only 20 calls. It's only 20 calls, because after that, now you're 1% better. You're moving forward. You're moving in the right direction. That's all you got to do. So if going in every day and you try to set yourself up, I'm going to work out for 2 hours a day or 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, like to lose all this weight, like you're going to fall off. Like I'm telling you right now, you are going to fall off and you're going to set
get too
yourself up for
sore.
failure. Yeah. It's kind of stupid, but,
Yeah, but you see it all the time. They get super motivated. They buy a bunch of supplements. They go in their first workouts like 2-3 hours long. They haven't worked out in years, and then they can't get out of bed the next day because they're so sore. It would have been much better just to go in, do 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then the next day do it again. And then the next day do it again, and then do it again, and then you build up, and that's how you do it over time. Like in the compound effect, this guy, he said, just walk to the stop sign and back. Darren Hardy told him, just walk to the stop sign and back, and then once you get there, just a couple more steps the next day and back. And then a couple more steps. Next thing you know, you're walking around the block. And the next thing you know, you're running. And then he runs a marathon, and now he's shredded. So, but it takes time, and you build up over time. So, and what we've been talking about, guys, the most important skill of all is consistency. If you're not consistent in improving yourself every day, you are not consistent in developing these skills, you will never learn. What we just went through, guys, if you pick the top one, figure out where you're at. Oh, communication. Do you know how to sell? Okay, you do. Maybe you need to learn marketing. Focus on that one, right? Develop the habit of consistency is the number one trait of highly successful people. You become consistent and the little things that add up to the big things, just like I was talking about. You walk to the stop sign and back. And then the next day you take a couple of steps past the stop sign and you walk back. And it's just 1% every single day that adds up to that person being able to run a marathon. Okay. Waking up with, here's some things that Dan and I focus on every single day. Waking up when you say you will. Okay. Yes, we're all human, other than Wes Watson seems to be an alien, but when you mess up the next day, make sure you get up, right? Like I'll be the first to tell you guys, I mess up in this arena sometimes. And then what I tell myself is, okay, the next day I'm definitely doing it. Definitely freaking getting up when I need to. Okay. Do your workout when you say you will, right? If you say you're going to work out that day, make sure you work out. Completing your task when you said you would. This is something that's very easy. People always think, I can just do it tomorrow. What it's meant to do today needs to get done today. Okay, don't wait for tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to have its own things that need to be done. You need to get it done today. Get it done today, because that is how you end up stacking massive wins. It's because you didn't push things off to the next day. So building up your consistency muscle and self-esteem is the key to success, guys. I mean, this right here, you can figure this slide out, man. This is something that me and Dan are always trying to improve on, because this improves all other areas of your life. If you are consistent, you will win. It is impossible not to, because you're in your enemy or your competition or whatever, your internal disbelief will become quieter and quieter the more consistent that you are.
Absolutely.
Awesome, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. See y'all on the next video.